So you're a test engineer?
Yes, I'm a test engineer in research and development, working on gearboxes, brakes, clutches, basically a lot of the car.
So how does someone become a test engineer? How does it start?
So I think there's quite a few routes in. I mean, I work with a lot of people from very different backgrounds, which is really nice actually. But like for me, I came through the university route. So I did a 5-year master's degree and then came here as a placement student actually about 4 years ago, and then came back full time after graduation.
Tell me about the early days and how did it start specifically for you?
I was lucky enough to be raised by my dad, who had a classic car business when I was a child. So I used to spend my weekends down at the garage with him. And it went from there really. I mean, I was probably about 10 when I told my dad I wanted to work in Formula One, and he said, well, why don't you become an engineer? And I said, well, what's that? And it sort of went from there, and then I just spent the next effectively 14 years of my life shaping to where I am today. So we're just setting the gearbox up for what we call a sign-off test. So it's a very standard procedure. So basically we'll just mount it to our dyno, and then we'll do a standard test procedure from the computers in there. And then after that we'll analyse the results, and if we're happy with it, then it will get sent either to track or in this case to a dyno test.
How often do you think you trust the data versus your own judgment when you're making decisions?
It's not a straightforward pass or fail. It has to be analysed, and we have to assess whether or not we think that the data represents the correct thing. And obviously if there is any issues, then we then have to make our judgment as to whether or not it's a car stopper. So there is a lot of judgment that goes into it, and I think people do underestimate that.
So how much of your day do you spend working in the physical world versus looking at the data?
So I'd say it's pretty 50-50 actually. We spend half our time analysing data, developing test sequences, and then the other half on our feet bolting things up to dynos, which I really enjoy actually. It's nice not to be at my desk all day. I'm also very lucky that I have a very supportive team, and I think that that's one of the great things about Red Bull, is that there's always someone you can talk to, and nobody's too big to answer your question. Like, everyone's so approachable, and that's what I really like about working here.
Now, as you think about girls and women that are potentially thinking of a career like yours, how would you encourage them to, or help them to get into this field?
Just know what you're interested in, and if you go to school and you like physics and you like maths and you like design, then this is a potential route for you, and you just need to learn about what it is to get you there. And I think there's a lot to be said about people coming from a very particular background, and I think it's important to realise that there's so many people who work in Formula One who don't come from that particular background that we talk of. And I come from a low-income, single-parent household, and I'm here, I did it. I worked hard, but I'm here and I did it, and I think that other kids can do that too. And it's really important to maybe recognise that just because you're successful, it doesn't mean that you come from success. And I think that's an important lesson that a lot of people could learn.